Okay, let's unpack this. We talk a lot about business on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about market forces, strategy, the economy, all these big sort of abstract concepts.
Right, the view from 30,000 feet.
Exactly. But today, I want to get granular. I want to talk about the operating system of your actual 9-to-5 life.
The operating system is a great way to put it because, underneath all the strategy meetings and the big vision statements, there's this very specific layer of code that actually runs the workplace.
Yes. And that code is language, it's vocabulary, but we're not talking about like synergy or circle back today.
Oh, thank goodness.
We have a source document, a glossary called vocpage4.md, which lists 21 very, very specific terms. And on the surface, they look like standard dictionary definitions.
Yeah, they seem simple.
But when you actually look at them, you realize these words, they define the power dynamics, the rules of engagement, and really the trajectory of your whole career.
That's the key. We aren't here to, give a spelling lesson. We're here to look at the structural implications of these words. Because if you misunderstand the difference between two terms on this list, it could literally cost you a promotion.
Or, at the very least, lead to a really awkward performance review.
For sure.
So our mission today is to take these 21 terms and just kind of build a life cycle. We're going to simulate the journey of an employee from the moment a company realizes they need someone.
The full arc.
So full, from start to finish. So let's start at ground zero. A company has a problem. There's an empty chair. The first term on our list is recruiting. And the text defines it simply as hiring new staff.
It seems simple, but let's pause on that for a second. Recruiting, it's a military term originally. It implies an active, almost aggressive pursuit.
Right.
The text sort of distinguishes this from just hiring. Recruiting suggests there's a system. The company isn't just, opening the door. They are actively hunting for a resource.
It does feel very active. And the goal of this hunt is our second term, to fill the post.
And the definition is just so blunt. Find someone to do the job.
Find someone to do the job.
I actually love how stripped down that is.
Yeah.
In the corporate world, we like to romance the hiring process, right? We talk about joining the family or finding a partner.
Yeah, well, that's
But structurally, no. There is a post. It is empty. The business is stalling because of that gap. The goal is to fill the post. It's purely mechanical.
a cog in the machine.
Exactly. And knowing that changes how you approach an interview. You aren't there to be their new best friend. You are there to solve the problem of their empty post.
Okay, so to solve that problem, they can't just grab anyone. They need a filter. This brings us to a really interesting distinction in the text between two concepts that people, I think, often mix up. The first one is criteria.
Right. And the definition provided is requirements you use to make a decision.
Requirements you use to make a decision. That sounds very objective, very binary.
It's meant to be.
You have the degree or you don't. You have 5 years of Java experience or you don't.
That's the intention. Criteria are the hard filter. They are the gatekeepers. If you don't meet the criteria, you don't even get in the room. It's the checklist the HR software uses to auto-reject your application.
Okay, so let's say I pass that checklist. I meet the criteria. I get shortlisted.
Which simply means selected from a larger group. You've survived the first call.
But being shortlisted doesn't mean I get the job. And this is where the second concept comes in. The text introduces the term fit for, defined as very suitable for.
And this is where it gets sticky.
Stickier than criteria.
Oh, much stickier. Criteria are about eligibility. Are you qualified on paper? Fit for is about suitability.
Okay.
You can meet every single criterion. You can have the MBA, the coding skills, the languages, and still not be fit for the role.
Because fit for implies a matching process that goes way beyond the resume.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Fit is often code for culture, for personality, for do I want to sit next to this person for 8 hours a day?
Right, it's subjective.
It is subjective. And frankly, that's where a lot of bias can creep in.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, as a candidate, you need to understand that proving you meet the criteria only gets you shortlisted. Proving you are fit for the team is what gets you the offer.
That's a huge distinction. You can't just dump your way into a good fit. You have to actually demonstrate that compatibility.
Correct.
Okay, so let's assume you nailed it. You are the right fit. You sign the offer letter. Day one arrives. You walk in. According to our list, you are now one of the new recruits.
People who have just joined the company.
And depending on the role, you might also be a trainee.
Which is defined as a person who is learning a new job.
Now, I have to ask, does trainee imply junior? Because I feel like that's the connotation it has.
The text is interesting here. It doesn't say young person. It just says learning a new job. You could be 50 years old, a veteran in your industry, but if you join a company with some, radically different system, you are technically a trainee.
That requires a bit of humility, doesn't it, to accept that you're in learning mode again?
It does. And structurally, it's actually a protective status.
Yeah.
If you're a trainee, expectations are different. You're allowed to break things.
Yeah.
Within reason, of course.
But you aren't just floating in a vacuum. You are slotted into the system. And this brings us to what I think is maybe the most important section of this entire document, the reporting structure.
The skeleton of the organization, yeah. Company structure and who you report to.
Okay, so we need to slow down here because the source material gives us two titles that, to the uninitiated, sound like synonyms. I think 90% of people use them interchangeably. We have line manager and we have supervisor.
Yes. And if you take nothing else away from this deep dive, take this distinction. It changes everything about how you work.
So let's start with the definitions from the text.
Okay. Line manager is defined as the person who is directly responsible for your work.
Got it. And supervisor?
The person who checks your work.
Responsible for versus checks. That still sounds like a semantic game. What is the actual difference in the real world?
It's the difference between ownership and quality control. Think of it like this. You're working on a massive report for a client. A supervisor might read through it to make sure the formatting is correct, that the numbers add up, no typos. They're checking the output.
Okay, quality assurance.
Right. But the line manager, they are responsible for the work. That means if the report is factually correct, which the supervisor checked, but it's strategically terrible and it loses the client, the supervisor isn't the one on the hook.
The line manager is.
The line manager is they carry the liability.
Oh, I see.
And because they carry the liability, they also carry your career development. A supervisor might tell you, you did this step wrong, fix it. A line manager will say, you're approaching this problem the wrong way, and we need to change how you think about it so we can hit our quarterly goals.
So if I'm an employee, I might have a supervisor on the floor telling me what to do minute by minute. But my line manager is the one deciding my bonus.
Exactly. And this is where conflict happens. If you treat your line manager like a supervisor, just someone to check your homework, you are missing the entire relationship. You need to align with your line manager's goals because your success is quite literally their success. They are responsible for you.
That is a massive mental shift. It pivots you from, is this correct, to, does this actually matter?
Precisely.
Okay, so you know who you report to, you know who's on the hook for your work, now you have to actually do the work. And a huge part of that is communication. The text gives us some phrases that outline, pun intended, how information moves.
It does. We have outlining and talk us through.
Let's look at outlining first, giving an overview of.
This is your executive summary.
Yeah.
Your elevator pitch. You're just setting the boundaries of the discussion.
Versus talk us through, which is tell us about in more detail.
This distinction seems basic, I know, but failing to recognize the difference is a classic career killer. Well, imagine you're in a meeting with a VP. She says, can you just outline the project status for me? And you start reading every single line item of the budget, every bug report.
Oh, no.
You are talking her through it when she just asked for an outline. You've lost the room. You're wasting her time.
Right. And conversely,
if your line manager says, this data looks weird, talk me through how you got these numbers, and you just give a vague outline, oh, we just ran the query. No, they need the detail. They need the step-by-step narrative.
So talk us through is really a request for the story. First, I did X, then Y happened, so I adjusted Z.
Yes, it's procedural. And usually when you're asked to talk us through something, the spotlight is really on you, which brings us to presentation. The text lists body language and speak up. Body
language. Physical movements which show how you were feeling. It's interesting that the definition explicitly links it to feeling.
It's the leak. We try to control our words, but if you're terrified of your line manager, your body language usually screams it before you even open your mouth.
And then they might tell you to speak up, which is defined as speak more loudly and clearly.
Now, I want to challenge the listener here. Don't just read loudly. That's the simple definition. In a business context, speak up is rarely just about volume.
It's not about shouting.
No, it's about presence. It's about clarity.
Right.
If you're mumbling or hedging or using passive language because you aren't confident, you aren't speaking up. You can speak quietly and still speak up if your point is sharp and your delivery is clear.
that connects right back to the hierarchy. If you're in a meeting with the line manager who is responsible for your work, speaking up means taking ownership of your piece of that responsibility.
Exactly. Silence is often interpreted as a lack of contribution or a lack of confidence.
So you've mastered the communication, you're outlining when you need to, talking through the details when asked, and your body language is screaming, "I'm competent!" Now you want to move up.
The development phase.
Right. The text gives us professional development, training given to employees to increase their knowledge or skills. And it specifies this often happens in-house, meaning within the company.
You know, there's a cynical read on in-house training and a more generous one.
Okay, give me the cynical one first.
The cynical read is that in-house training is basically indoctrination. They aren't teaching you transferable skills that you can take to a competitor.
Yeah.
They are teaching you their way of doing things. They're molding you to fit their specific machine.
And the generous read.
It's just efficiency. Why learn a generic skill when you can learn exactly how to apply it right here? But the key word in that definition of professional development is given. Training given to employees. It's an investment from them.
And the return on that investment is meant to be a boost.
Right. Boost. Improve or increase. The company doesn't give you training out of the kindness of their heart. They do it to boost your output.
So you take the training. You boost your skills. Now you want to apply them. You want a promotion. But companies are risk-averse. They rarely just hand you the keys. They'll usually give you a trial run.
A practice of something new.
This is the interim title, right? The acting manager.
Or it could be even smaller. Hey, why don't you lead the Tuesday morning stand-up this week? That's a trial run. It's a low-stakes environment to test if you are actually fit for that new responsibility.
And if you survive the trial run,
then you
take on,
start to have more responsibility.
Note the phrasing there. You don't get a promotion. You take on responsibility. It's a burden. It's weight.
That's a heavy way to look at it.
It's the reality. When you move up that reporting structure, you are literally taking on the weight that used to sit on your line manager's shoulders. You are absorbing liability.
But you can't just keep taking on weight indefinitely.
No, you'll break, which is why the contract includes paid leave.
Time off you are paid for, such as holiday or parental leave. It's the release valve. And notice the definition stresses paid for. It's a transaction. The company buys your time, but they also have to buy your downtime because they know without it, the asset you depreciates rapidly. Burnout is bad for business.
So we've gone through the whole cycle. You were recruited, you navigated the hierarchy, you developed your skills, you took on more weight, you took your paid leave, but eventually, all good things come to an end. It's time to exit.
And this brings us to our final and maybe most awkward term in the glossary, the notice period.
Defined as time you need to work in your job after you have officially told the company you are leaving.
That phrase, officially told the company, is the trigger. It completely changes your state of being at the company.
It's such a weird time, isn't it? The notice period. You're physically there. You're still getting paid. But you are, for all intents and purposes, gone.
You're a lame duck.
No.
And the power dynamic flips completely. Well, think about the reporting structure. Your line manager is responsible for your work, but you're leaving in 2 weeks. If you don't finish that project, what are they going to do? Fire you.
You're bulletproof.
To a degree. But it's also a test of professionalism, right? Do you use that notice period to ensure a smooth handover? Or do you just, watch the place burn?
And while you're sitting there running out the clock on your notice period, the machine has already restarted behind you.
Exactly. The company has identified the gap. They are rewriting the criteria. They are starting the recruiting process. They are looking to fill the post.
The circle of life.
The circle of commerce.
It's really fascinating to see it all laid out like this. When you just read the list, recruiting, criteria, trainee, it feels so dry. But when you string them together, it's a story. It's the story of basically every career.
And understanding the precise meaning of these words gives you leverage. If you understand that recruiting is a hunt, you make yourself the prize. If you understand that fit for is subjective, you work on your soft skills. If you understand the difference between a supervisor and a line manager,
you know who to impress.
You know who to impress, and you know when to speak up. Exactly.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave the listener with one thought. We spent a lot of time talking about the company's perspective. The company sets the criteria. The company decides if you're fit for the role.
It all feels very one-sided.
It does, but definitions work both ways.
What do you mean?
I want you, the listener, to think about the definition of criteria again. Requirements you use to make a decision. We always think about that as the employer's checklist, but do you have your own criteria?
That is the pivotal question.
When you're looking for a job, are you just hoping to be shortlisted somewhere, anywhere? Or do you have a hard list of requirements that a company must meet? Do you treat that interview as a moment to see if they are fit for you?
Very suitable for.
Right, because if you don't have your own criteria, you're just a resource waiting to fill a post. But if you do have criteria, then you're a business of one entering into a B2B negotiation.
That shifts the power dynamic entirely.
Something to think about the next time you're updating your resume.
Indeed.
That's it for this deep dive into the vocabulary of the workplace. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.